Hello, it's great to see everybody again. I hope everybody's staying safe. My name is Don Farr. I'm the director of the Dedman School of Hospitality, and it is my great fortune to have with me a good friend, Chris Burr. Chris is a graduate of the Dedman School of Hospitality from 1982, a huge supporter of the Dedman School, and also is a member of our board of directors, and will be heading up the committee for our upcoming 75th reunion here in about 2 years. Chris is the director of non-traditional brands for Dunkin. Chris, how you doing and welcome.
Well, thanks, Don. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm excited about the opportunity to talk with our friends, students, and alumni.
Well, we appreciate you being here. So I got to ask you a couple things. But first off, let us know what non-traditional means. When I think of Dunkin', I think of my favorite donut in the history of donuts, the sugar donut. Pretty plain, pretty simple, but I can eat like 6 of them at any time. So other than the greatest donut ever created, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Thanks. Sure. I am the director of non-traditional development for Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins. And what that means is I have a team that's focused on anything that's not that street store that you think about. Airports, theme parks, bus stations, train stations, big box retail stores. We have a great presence with Walmart, college campuses. And if any of you have a connection, I haven't been able to get on FSU's campus yet, but we'd sure like to do that. So effectively, it's any place where the primary purpose of the visit is not us, right? So you don't go to the airport to get Dunkin', you get Dunkin' while you're at the airport.
Before we really get into the meat of this, what's some of your favorite products? Because I would be huge if I worked there.
Well, there's two things. There's nothing more fun than ice cream and donuts for your employment. But there's a couple of things that really do it for me. From the Baskin Robbins side, I am a huge fan of the flavor of ice cream called baseball nut. It's a terrific seasonal flavor that's usually around in the summer and baseball season. Vanilla, raspberry swirl with peanuts and caramel, and it's just a fantastic ice cream. So that may be available where you are. And then on the Dunkin' side, I'm a little more traditionalist with coffee. So our original blend black is what I'm drinking, maybe with a little sweetener. And my favorite product right now is the Beyond Sausage Breakfast Sandwich. It's a terrific product. The culinary team did a great job putting that together, and I get one as often as I can.
And you guys also sell the pods for the coffee makers.
We do K-Cups, and packaged coffee is available in our restaurants as well as supermarket and other retailers.
Well, very good. Well, again, it's great to have you here. I guess we'll get into the meat a little bit more. With COVID going around, can you talk a little bit about how it affected your company as a whole, then maybe in what you do with the non-traditional development side?
Yeah, glad to. You know, if you think about Dunkin', the one thing that's important to recognize is Dunkin' as a company doesn't own or operate any of our restaurants. All of our 9,000 or almost 10,000 restaurants in the US are independently owned and operated under a franchise agreement by Dunkin'. That being said, on the corporate side, we have, about 1,100 employees. And Dunkin's income, or a portion of it, is driven by revenue and royalties that we collect from those franchisees. So on the corporate side, collecting royalties from franchisees, initially during the COVID situation, we saw a drop in sales in our restaurants. And as a result, that flows through to Dunkin' as a drop in royalties. So I'm so proud of our corporate leadership that really took this head on from the beginning. From the corporate employees' standpoint, we shut down the office, we sent everybody home, we cut off all travel, we did all sorts of things to keep our own people safe. We were lucky that we're in a great place with a strong balance sheet, a good cash position. The leadership talked about people over profits. We didn't do our distribution to our shareholders for the quarter. That was a strong decision. And I'm proud to say that because of that kind of leadership that our team showed in protecting our cash position, we did not furlough or lay off one corporate employee. That's the corporate side of the business. On the franchisee side of the business, we saw some significant effects of the business in hotspots like Manhattan and Philadelphia and other places where we saw, a number of stores closed temporarily. But if you go to the Dunkin model itself on the street, and I'll talk about the non-traditional business in a second, but if you think about the Dunkin business on the street and how we were already positioned, it seems like we were almost built for this situation, right? We have a strong drive-through presence and our drive-throughs remained open. We have a strong mobile application program for contactless ordering and delivery. So we had that in place pre-COVID. And there are some companies that are sort of scrambling to get that in place now. Now, that being said, we put in temporary brand standards across all of our restaurants, new gloves for every transaction, masks for employees, closed dining rooms, takeout only, drive-through only, and really put the effort into getting ahead of this early in the whole situation. So I couldn't be prouder of how the company handled it. I couldn't be prouder of how our franchisees responded to it. As people start to get back to work, we're seeing a little more traffic. It's a really interesting time. And I think Dunkin was positioned very, very well to respond to it. On the non-traditional side, that's been a little more challenging to recover. With the precipitous decline in airport traffic, we're still seeing a significant number of airport locations closed. Stadiums and arenas, this afternoon we'd probably be pouring a lot of iced coffee at Fenway Park if baseball was in play, and Great American Park in Kansas City. So, we're struggling getting stadiums and arenas reopened where they pour Dunkin product. Colleges and universities, while many of them may be closed for the summer, maybe the Dunkins are closed in the summer, they closed with college and university higher education locations. Shopping malls have been a challenge to get reopened as retail has, started the different phases that we're seeing in different communities. So it'll come back slowly, but we're expecting to see about 85% of our, hopefully, college and university locations open in the fall. We'll see how that all plays out. But that's been a really different experience in the non-traditional world. Less drive-through, less potential for mobile ordering, but on the other hand, less dining rooms and less seating, right? That has been a bit of a challenge in the non-traditional world just because of the venues that we're in. We're also affected by the situation.
So with all your stores being privately held, your corporate office still was able to give the guidelines each store followed for consistency purposes and whatnot.
That's the whole concept of a franchise, right? It's a business model, standards to follow, that you hopefully get the same experience from one location to another. And we were able to put into place those temporary brand standards like plexiglass shields at the POS station, right? And new single-use gloves for every transaction. The customers responded well to it. And the other thing that's been really amazing about our franchisees in the field, there's countless opportunities and exposure where they took dozens and dozens of donuts to first responders and frontline workers and donated coffee. And I couldn't be prouder of our franchisee base for how they responded in their own communities where they live, work, and run their businesses.
Do you see any of the things that we're doing now or you're doing now to keep employees safe from COVID lasting beyond COVID, let's say a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, any policy changes or any standards maybe that you think will be permanent?
Well, I think there's still a lot to come, Don, as we come out of this, and certainly there'll be a new normal that everybody's talking about. I certainly think that contactless ordering and mobile order or mobile pickup, I've been participating a lot of webinars and learning sessions to make sure that I was seeing what was going on in higher education and in airports and travel. And I think you're going to see things like hand washing stations outside of the restrooms. So people who want to wash their hands don't have to go into a restroom if they don't have to use the restroom. There's so many things like that that are going to come. And I think you'll see automatic door openers so people don't have to touch doors. But the key is going to be that touchless, contactless ordering and pickup.
Sometimes it seems like the hospitality industry is being picked on a little bit as far as some of the declines because we notice the restaurants and whatnot. I'm a firm believer that the hospitality and tourism industry is going to help drive the economic recovery. What do you see the future for our current students and maybe recent alumni in the hospitality world?
Well, I think hospitality today is so much broader than it was when I left Florida State in 1982. When I was leaving, in my mind and many of my peers' mind, when we were leaving and going out, we were looking for entry-level management jobs with hotel companies, restaurant companies. And in today's world, I think the opportunities for graduates are a lot broader than they were back then, in that, you think about things like, the mobile ordering that I mentioned. Somebody's got to manage the seamless integration between the app, the POS system, and the digital menu board. Think about things in hotels like digital check-in, where you can pick your room 48 hours before you're going to arrive. Somebody's got to manage those things, and design and architecture and human resources. I think the graduate today, and even what I do, right, franchise sales. I never thought about going into franchise sales when I was leaving Florida State, but as I grew and saw my peers and my fellow graduates doing different things, I think today's graduate and student really should broaden the tent a little bit about what they're looking for in the hospitality industry. I think there's a ton of opportunity that sometimes we don't think about.
Well, I agree with you. Chris, it's great to have you with us. We really appreciate you being with us and, giving us a little insight to the hospitality industry and in Dunkin Brands. You stay safe, and we'll talk soon.
Likewise, Don, it was my pleasure, and thank you all very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.